Hello and welcome to the 49ers First and 10 podcast presented by Cisco. 10 minutes of the most up-to-date 49ers news first thing in the morning. I'm your host, Brianna McDonald, and joining me today is 49ers team reporter Lindsay Polares and special guest Seattle Seahawks senior reporter John Boyle. Thanks for joining the pod again, John.
Yeah, happy to do it. Thanks for having me on.
Yep, all eyes are set on Sunday. But first, let's dive into the latest injury updates. Lindsay, we're one game back from the bye. Where would you grade the health of this team in week 11?
If this was last week, I would have said upward trajectory. I think right now I'm going to go with mixed bag because there are a number of key 49ers players that have missed the first couple days of the practice week. I'm talking Nick Bosa, who has been dealing with a hip injury. We heard him speak and say that he's actually experiencing a fair amount of pain. So I do think that his status for this game is very much up in the air. Of course, we're going to get a lot more clarity on that later today when the final injury report comes out. Another person to be watching, George Kittle, was dealing with some hamstring irritation. Positive note for him is that he was a limited participant on Thursday. I did see him out there on the practice field. And then also with left tackle Trent Williams, hasn't practiced the last couple days. He usually gets a veteran rest day at least one time during the week, but he is dealing with an ankle injury. And then Charvarius Ward, not an injury, but dealing with a personal matter. And so he has not practiced the last 2 weeks. 49ers also had to add a punter because Mitch Wishnowsky had a flare-up in his back. So again, just a few lingering injuries for pretty important players. So I think the clarity that will come today will give us a clearer picture about the team that will likely be taking the field on Sunday.
Okay, we'll be keeping our eye out for that final injury report. But John, the Seahawks are coming off of their bye week. What injuries are being monitored in Seattle?
Yeah, they're hoping to get some guys back coming off the bye, most notably DK Metcalf, who's missed the last 2 games. He's been a full participant the last 2 days, which makes us all think he's going to play. They're always kind of couching it with, well, he's got to get through the week and make sure everything's okay. But sure looks like he'll get back. The other player they're hoping to get back is their starting right tackle, Abraham Lucas, who's been on the physically unable to perform list all season. It's unclear at this point whether even if he's active and able to play, if he'd play the whole game, or if they might want to ease him in because it's been so long since he's played. And then they could be a little thin at tight end. Noah Fant's been dealing with a groin injury that kept him out of the last game. And then Brady Russell, one of their backup tight ends and a key special teamer, he's been out of practice with a foot injury. So those are kind of the main ones. And then non-injury wise, their starting center, Connor Williams, has been listed as personal, non-injury related, and been out the last 2 days. So we'll probably get a little more clarity from Mike McDonald this afternoon what that all means, but that'd be another one to monitor, obviously, if he's not out there again today.
All right, John. Well, besides injuries, can you give us some insight to where the Seahawks are at following their bye? What are some of the goals the team has as they enter the second half of their season, and how is the team strategizing for that?
Yeah, I think, offensively, the talk really not just this week, but in recent weeks when they've been struggling a little bit, has just been kind of getting out of their own way. They've looked like a really explosive offense at times when they play clean, but too many, early down sacks, penalties, some occasional turnovers has really caused them to be in, a lot of third and long situations, playing from behind the sticks, all that, where then they get in trouble and the pass rush for the opponent can really get going. So that's been a big key. Get some of the turnovers out of the game. I think they have 11 turnovers and 5 losses, and they've got 9 or more penalties in 4 of those 5 losses. So those are 2 big focuses for the offense. Defensively, it's been kind of an up and down season. Right now, they're trying to kind of build off some momentum they had last game against the Rams. Even though they lost that game, the defense played really well. They've struggled against the run for most of the season, but they held the Rams to 2.8 yards a carry in that game. They forced 7 3 and outs. So they feel like they took some steps forward. Now, the defense is going to look a lot different than what the 49ers saw in week 6. Seahawks have changed both their starting inside linebackers since then, trading for Ernest Jones, who 49ers fans probably remember from his 3 seasons with the Rams. Reek Woolen, one of their best cornerbacks, was not in that game. Their first-round pick, Byron Murphy, was injured for that game as well. So a lot of changes on defense that the Seahawks hope will make them a better unit than, what you guys saw earlier this season.
Yep, this is the second time these two teams are facing off this season. The 49ers defense had success holding the Seahawks to just 24 points in the first meeting, but Geno Smith still threw over 300 yards. The 49ers are not overlooking this matchup. Lindsay, how do the 49ers plan to adjust their pass defense to limit Smith's production, especially with weapons like DK Metcalf now and Jackson Smith and Jigba?
Yeah, I think the pass defense has to be on their A game, right? DK Metcalf coming back after missing weeks 8 and 9 and then having the bye week, certainly going to be a positive boost. But I think generally the pass defense wants to, be able to limit Geno Smith's production in the same way that they were able to limit Baker Mayfield last week. A really, really successful outing for that pass defense. They kept Baker Mayfield to 116 yards passing and 82 passer rating. Really didn't allow him to do much. Obviously, they were able to create opportunity for themselves late in the game, but I think it's just continuing to elevate the good that is already happening there. Obviously, I think one interesting thing to note too is that Charvarius Ward did not play in that first meeting against the Seahawks. So this is round 2 of this same compilation of cornerbacks that are going to be playing against the Seahawks. So again, just building on that first performance against Seattle, and hopefully another successful outing coming in the books.
Yeah, well, Christian McCaffrey's return is a game changer for the 49ers, especially considering his ability to line up in multiple spots. Coach Mike McDonald mentioned that McCaffrey could be used in, quote, funkier spots this time around. John, how does Seattle plan to account for McCaffrey's versatility in both the run and pass game?
I think that's probably the challenge for every team facing the 49ers when he's out there. I went back and looked. He's gone over 100 rushing yards in every game in 4 games against the Seahawks since joining the 49ers. That's including the postseason game. So they know they have their hands full. I think it's, more than anything, just having a plan for all the different things he can do. And really, kind of the one thing Mike McDonald mentioned, it's not just him. It's the way that both him and Debo are so, position versatile that you got to account for a lot of different things with both those guys. Who's out at receiver, who's in the backfield, et cetera. So, there's no one way to deal with Christian McCaffrey, but I think it's just being aware, obviously, where he is and having a good plan to try to limit the big plays.
Now, John, this divisional rivalry has gone back and forth over the years, but as of now, the 49ers have won 6 straight games against the Seahawks. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges the Niners present in recent history and then coming up in Sunday's matchup?
Yeah, it's been really streaky. I think it was like 17-20 for the Seahawks over a 10-season run. And then, as you said, 6 in a row for the 49ers. I mean, there's been a million factors, but overall, I think the biggest thing, the 49ers have just been one of the better teams in the NFL over that stretch, but they've been the better team in the trenches more often than not. That offensive line has obviously been really good, led by Trent Williams. And then, I think there's just been some games where the Seahawks have been too sloppy. This last one included with the 2 turnovers and a bunch of penalties in that one as well. So, I don't think there's one thing you can point to. Obviously, as a new coaching staff now, there's been 2 different quarterbacks involved in over that span with Russell Wilson and Geno Smith. A lot of turnover for both teams. So I think more than anything, it's just been, I think overall the 49ers have just been the better team over that stretch, but also, some things the Seahawks have done to get in their own way.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be an exciting Sunday at Levi's Stadium. Thank you, John, for joining us today. Don't forget to tune in to the Seahawks vs. 49ers game on Fox at 1:05 p.m. Pacific Time. Subscribe to First and 10 presented by Cisco for all your 49ers updates and turn on the notifications for any breaking news. Thanks for tuning in.